you know that it's them prying. You know what I mean? Like, you get it. Don't be surprised if people ask you, oh, do you have a man? Are you dating? What's going on? Don't be surprised because you put that out there. You know what I mean? So that is the ticket for you to have your sanity and deal with people that are, you know, a bit too nosy, and you can adjust the access. You know what I mean? Howdy, Aves. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. First and foremost, Happy New Year. I have been so blessed to reach 10,000 subscribers, and I am so grateful, so humbled, and I'm happy to reach 10,000 of you. So hopefully we could get those numbers up and reach more people. Today's video is going to be a sequel to my Move in Silence video. I got a lot of feedback on how to move in silence, but in a way where you're dealing with nosy people, pushy friends, pushy family, pushy acquaintances, just in general, just having those boundaries to know how to navigate personal questions and how to navigate moving in silence in real life with people that we associate with on the daily. So if that sounds super to you, then keep on watching. I know that there's so many scenarios when it comes to how do you even deal with nosy people in general. Well, first and foremost, as I fix my hair, let's identify a nosy person. So a nosy person really is someone that will go out of their way to mind your business instead of minding their own. Sometimes this is for them actually intentionally being nosy, and sometimes it's folks that are just naturally curious. So you should kind of know the difference between the two. Usually someone that's intentionally being nosy, there's an agenda behind, you know, why they want information from you, and they're going to be poignant about what they're extracting from you, versus someone that's naturally curious might be someone that's just chatty and wants to get to know you, and they themselves don't have much internal self-awareness to know when something is truly personal to you and not up to them to pry, versus them feeling like, oh, I'm entitled to this information because I'm asking. You know what I mean? It's up to us as like the people giving away our business to know what to share and what to not. And you can't be mad at anyone if you don't have those boundaries in the first place. So wanted to define what's a nosy person to me. Nosy people to me aren't really bad people. It's just folks that probably just don't have a boundary between you and them to know what you're going to give to them. So first things first, nosy people can be your friends. Nosy people can be your coworkers. Nosy people can be your family. Nosy people can be someone you sit next to on the airplane. Like, nosiness is everywhere. I have moments where I'm very nosy, but I also know my place with not to ask certain questions unless I give permission or I read the cues of what's appropriate and what's not. Okay, so one question I got that was recurring a lot in the comments is, what do you say when someone is asking you a personal question? I think that when someone's asking you a personal question, depending on how comfortable you are with your boundaries, I would just not answer it directly. So how that will look like is if someone's saying, oh, what did you do this weekend? You know, whatever. I would respond with how my weekend was and not go into details with what I did in the weekend. Usually at this point, when you're like, oh, my weekend was great, it was so nice, I had a really great time, and it was relaxing to just have that recharge, and I'm super ready for the week now. That's an answer to a question. Now, is it their answer to their question? Absolutely not. But usually someone would either A, not realize you didn't directly answer their question, or B, realize you didn't answer their question directly and won't pry further because they get the hint that you're not going to go into details as far as what you did. Now, let's say they followed up with, oh, really? What made it amazing? What did you do? Now, you can say what you did, but it doesn't mean you have to say everything that you did. it means that you can choose what you want them to know. So if something is personal to you and you don't want them to know that you went skydiving or that you went to, people watch at the park, I don't know what you do, you don't have to disclose that information because it's a need to know. So if a part of your weekend meant, oh, I gave myself a facial at home and I bought a steamer from Amazon, you could say, oh yeah, I did some self-care and I bought a steamer at home and I did a facial. That can tie into why it was great and relaxing. You ain't got to say that you went to the store to grab feminine products, or that you went to get a wax, or that you went on a date, or that you did all of this. Some things are not really necessary because it's not their business, and it's nothing wrong with not divulging every single detail of your weekend. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind, that when someone asks you personal questions, you're not obligated to answer it to a T, depending on your relationship with you and said person. So that's number one. Like, that's an example of, when someone asks you a question, don't feel like you have to answer it absolutely, Now, I know there can be situations where, let's say the person's like very much gung-ho about knowing what you want, like what they want to know about you and what you did or what is on you. And this can kind of be, very common with like parents or like family members that just feel entitled to your life and feel like, they have that controlling, looming sense over you. And to be honest, at this point, it's more about, you have to stand your ground multiple times for them to get it, that you're not gonna give too much information, but in a way that's polite. So if someone's like gung-ho, like, oh, what did you do? Where did you go? This and that. You could just say that, oh, I went to spend quality time with a friend or myself, or not even say anything at all. Sometimes I've had moments where if I felt like my boundaries were violated and they were just doing the most with knowing my like business, if they asked me like, oh, you went out this weekend. Okay, what were you doing out so late? I would just not answer and just change the subject. Like, I'm ruthless in that way where I don't care. Like, I will dead serious answer a question by just not answering it. And I will let that awkward silence happen, and I'll just look at you like, after you ask me a question, and not say a word. So that's kind of my approach. Granted, I'm like not new to this, I'm true to this. So when you get to a point where you're new to this, you're not new to this, and you're true to this, you'll understand what I mean. But for the beginners out there, you just have to be the type of person that you turn off that people-pleasing switch in your mind and realize that it's not a sin. No one's going to die because you didn't tell them everything that you did this weekend or last month or in your life. Some things are not a need to know, and not every question you have to address every single thing in that question. I'm not encouraging lying or being dishonest or omitting pertinent information that's like, partially their business as well. But if something that's truly not their business, that's how you would navigate personal questions. Now, I want to get into a bit about why we feel uncomfortable enforcing these boundaries. And a part of it is with our intuition. Like, when you don't trust yourself and trust your intuition, it could be kind of hard to make decisions and to keep certain things to yourself, because like a theme that I've seen a lot in the comments is that even if you are telling your business, not a lot of people are going to be happy for you, especially if the type of news that you share is the type of news that will stir up envy or will stir up jealousy, or will just, you can just tell that that person's monitoring you in a way where they're just keeping tabs so they can keep track of what you're doing because secretly they want your life. Now, if that's a scenario where someone wants your life, you have to be absolutely careful about what you share with them, because some people like that can't help that they covet what you have or the type of lifestyle that you live. So it's not something that you would take personally, but it's one of the things where it's like, if you know that you are living a certain way that will stir up some level of insecurity in someone else or envy or covetousness in them. Personally, for me, I just think that I'm not going to share certain things with certain people if I know that they might feel a way and be comparative. You know what I mean? And by comparative, I mean if you know someone or you're around people, it doesn't mean they're bad people, but if you know that they're the type that they compare themselves to other people, whether it's fictitious, like people on social media they don't know, or to celebrities, or, you know, they are not that happy with their life, then if you're having great things happen for you in your life, or even bad things happen to you in your life, you know, some folks may be obsessed with knowing that because it makes them feel better about themselves and their own situations. So that's why I say, like, knowing how to be wary of questions pertaining to you and not backing down with, no matter how pushy they are or no matter how sly they may be, to kind of like pry, that's really like the bottom line. And I think with moving in silence, we know about like the principles of moving in silence, like that's a given, but with knowing how to navigate it in real life, it takes you having boundaries in yourself, and it takes you being comfortable with, you know, not negative space, but like space without talking, or comfortable with not giving someone else what they want just because they ask. So like, learn to be less of a people pleaser, and it won't be hard for you to not share your business or not succumb to the pushiness of people that are nosy. I remember I had a situation where I had some family members ask me like what my salary was or what I made, and I just didn't answer their question because it wasn't like I thought they had like bad intentions, but it's none of their business. Like, even my own siblings and parents don't know how much I make. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things where you can just say like, oh, I'm not comfortable sharing that, or, oh no, I'm keeping that to myself. Like, it doesn't have to be anything you're mean about, but people will get the hint that there are certain things that they will never ask you because they know they're going to receive a no. And there are certain things that you're willing to share for the sake of like, if you're in that mood. But certain things are just no one's business. And some people know it's not their business, but they try you anyway to see if you'll give them what they want. And if you give them what they want and then you're mad about it later, you have to kind of check yourself for the sake of that accountability of why you gave something away when you didn't want to in the first place. You know what I mean? And I think that is important with why we do share things. It's our inner sense of self-concept, and it's our inner sense of people pleasing that makes it hard for us to deal with pushy people. Because again, people that are pushy want to push your boundaries, so it's up to you to have them up like the walls of Jericho, you know, to make sure that folks don't enter without your permission. And remember, you give the permission. It's you that has access. So if you are granting access to any and everyone, you can't be surprised if they're, you know, coming in and imposing themselves when you allow them. You know what I mean? So enforce those boundaries, and over time, friends, family, especially those that are like naturally they've known to kind of like have their way with you, and you know, if you're like a pushover, folks like that will get upset and like feel a way that you have boundaries now. But I promise you, it gets better. They'll learn their place and they'll adjust to the new version of you, and that's really all that matters for the most part. Because not gonna lie, like, being a people pleaser all the time is just not it. And to be honest, I think when you are someone that you like keep things to yourself, people just learn not to like, I don't know, get over on you. People learn to ask you, you know, for permission to share things. And then when you do actually share things, people feel closer to you because it's something that they know you don't do too often. And it's something that you know that it's not like you're a secretive person and you don't share everything. but you share enough with folks that they feel like they're included and they feel like they're having a piece of you. Like I said in the last video, you know, moving in silence is how to keep the most of yourself, but also give the most of yourself. So it's like you got to find that balance of how do you connect with people with being genuine to what is yours and what you own versus how do you keep the most of you so you have something to give in general. You know what I mean? You can't pour from an empty cup. And I think privacy and having that discretion is something that's a bit lacking these days, especially with social media. Like you're just, it's a culture to just share everything, and not everything needs to be shared. Like there has to be some level of mystery, and yes, some folks will hate you for that, but it's not true hate. They hate themselves, so of course they're not gonna like you. So don't take it personal. Just know that it's your world and people want access to that world. So how are they gonna get the access? It's through you and what you let them see and what you let them have the liberty to know. So always know that the cards are in your hands and how they're dealt is up to you. Okay? I think when it comes to social media and like what's oversharing, or for fellow content creators that are watching this and you're like into vlogging and what have you, you always control what you put out about yourself. It's always you. It leads back to you. So don't be a victim if someone asks you personal questions. Don't feel like you're the victim and feel like, oh, why are they asking me all these questions? Or why are they being so personal? Da da da. Like, don't take it personal. Don't be a victim. Just adjust what level of what you share. You know, if you're sharing something that's insinuating something else, don't be surprised if someone asks you questions. You know what I mean? If you're on social media posting, you know, a fellow's thumb or elbow while you're out on vacation, don't be surprised if people ask you, oh, do you have a man? Are you dating? What's going on? Don't be surprised because you put that out there. You know what I mean? So take accountability for what you share, but be ready if people come back with follow-up. And it doesn't mean the curiosity is bad. It doesn't mean that you're a wrong person because you share or don't share. It's just be prepared for people to ask. And if you did overshare and someone asks, you could still say no. It doesn't mean that if you shared something, you have to say, you know, what you did because you insinuated something, or I said my day was fantastic and now they're asking why it was fantastic. That's human nature. Like that's going to happen, but just don't be upset or don't be like ruffled because, oh my God, they're asking so many questions. Well, I mean, as human beings, we're storytellers. So like, we're gonna want to know like the juice, the story, like give me the juice, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So in a nutshell, I am someone that I understand that people want to have some level of access to how I live my life and how I like do things. And I'm very much willing to share almost everything in regards to what I love and want to share and other people to benefit from. But I learned that there's a lot of things to me that I'd just rather keep to myself. You know what I mean? And I've seen some of these things on social media and I'm just like, oof, I would have took that to the grave. But at the same time, that's not me, and maybe someone else's share factor is what works for them, and I'm not there to judge. But yeah, I really hope that that's something that could help you for how to like navigate nosy, pushy people. When it comes to family, just know that it's family and they're always going to feel some level of entitlement when it comes to what's going on in your life because they're your family, or they may have an image of you in their head that is stuck in a certain period in your life, and you may have outgrown that period. So it's up to you to remind them, you know, that, hey, I'm no longer a teenager, or I'm no longer, you know, this person. Like, I've grown to be this person, and I'd like for you to respect my boundaries. You know what I mean? So always know that you can change your mind at any time, and you can do an identity switch at any time. Just know that, of course, people are the type that if they're not used to something, change can be a bit frightening for them, but they'll adjust. And that's the bottom line. As long as they adjust, that is the ticket for you to have your sanity and deal with people that are, you know, a bit too nosy, and you could adjust the access, you know what I mean? When it comes to close friends or even acquaintances, I think with acquaintances, there's certain things that you just know that, especially if you're not asking them personal questions and they're asking you personal questions, you know that it's them prying, you know what I mean? Like, you get it. And to be honest, they're an acquaintance. Like, I wouldn't even like get my panties in a bunch about that. I would just A, not give the answer, or B, change the subject and flip it on them. To be honest, for me, for the most part, since I do like interact with people pretty often when I'm not being a homebody, I just ask them questions about themselves and let them talk, because most people like to talk. I personally like to talk, which is why I have a YouTube channel, but for the most part, when I'm in my reserved mode, I just like to listen and talk to folks and like ask them follow-up questions. And like, it doesn't have to be follow-up questions pertaining to themselves, but just pertaining to ideas or schools of thought that doesn't really dig into personal details. That is not a need to know basis for me. You know what I mean? Like, if I could ask them what they think about tap water versus sparkling water versus mineral water, we could talk about that for like ages, but that doesn't mean I have to know if they drink tap water at home, or if they have a water filter, or if they have like, you know, they don't drink water at all, they just drink juice and they hate water. Like, I don't need to know all that, but I could talk about something general that doesn't make them feel like they're exposed. So it's kind of like just knowing those communication styles and knowing how that works for you. And I think that will be a little gem to keep in your back pocket. Okay, so my name is Evie Ojwang. Hopefully this video was super helpful for you. I'm so grateful for 10,000 of you to like slide on through to my channel. I am hype. I don't really know what to do to celebrate. Thought about doing a Q&A. Thought about doing like kind of like a get to know me situation. I don't know. I don't really consider myself an influencer, so to speak, but let me know in the comments what you want to see from me for my 10K, and I will spin through them and consider it and see what I have next. But thank you so much. Always remember that you glow for a living because you're lit from within, beyond skin deep, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.